Hey, hello, Ragnar Heil. Welcome to the Galactic Collaboration Summit. My session today is all about the challenges, recommendations, and learning when moving and migrating one tenant to the other tenant. So stay tuned for the next 30 minutes. I'm an MVP for Office apps and services. I also work at Quest Software as a channel account manager. I love to blog around headsets and traveling. Currently, I'm not traveling here, so I'm locked down in my home office. And you can find me on Twitter, Ragnar H, and also Working Out Loud, which is a passion from my side. On the right-hand side, you can see Microsoft Munich, where I spent 11 years. I'm also blogging around Office 65 topics, and I'm owning a podcast with the weekly fresh updates around the intelligent workplace. And I would like to show you in my presentation why you shouldn't start a migration from one tenant to the other tenant directly by clicking a migration button. So it's so important to start with a pre-preparation phase, a planning phase, then migrate, and then at the end, make sure that after the migration, you can manage the new content and then the new environment is secure and compliant and safe. So let's start with number one, planning a migration, analyzing your environment in the source and also in the target. And here we are currently finding different approaches to migrate. The first one is very well known. It's not very work-life balance friendly because usually you do a big bang over the weekend. You start, Friday evening and you end Sunday night doing the migration because the end users expect that everything works smoothly on a Monday morning. But disadvantages, it's very stressful for everybody who's involved. And you can only do it in limited scenarios, higher risk. You need the whole team available, and but it's very easy from the change management point of view because you only have to communicate this weekend. We're going to migrate you from one tenant to the other tenant, not more and not less. Next approach would be the sequential approach. Disadvantage, it's much more complex, and you definitely need change management here. But the advantages, in large environments, you need to migrate step by step, like Exchange, OneDrive, SharePoint, Teams, and so on, step by step, and then you have less risk. You could also migrate manually. The biggest benefit is here there are no costs on the tool side, on the licensing side, but you would lose maybe also metadata, which is precious. It's very labor intensive because you don't buy tools, but you have to do everything on your own with your staff. And it only works with limited content size. Other approaches would be like go forward, where you just reduce the amount of size and you would just migrate the pure files and nothing more, and you would just scope out a lot of complex topics. And then there is a very popular approach called incremental migration. This is reducing complexity because the end users can still work on the source tenant, but also on the target tenant. And the tool will migrate and would sync between source and target tenant. Here, you need to buy or to get a tool. It takes longer, and maybe you are going to run into issues which you didn't plan because the sync is going to offer issues which you didn't scope. But for large environments, that's definitely one of the most recommended approaches here. So when migrating tenant to tenant, you can also migrate from tenant to tenant because you're doing an M&A. You are maybe also doing a carve out and you want to sell your subsidiary to another company. Or you would like to go for a hybrid approach and you would you need to involve your AD on-premise as well. Or you just want to handle multiple tenants because of security compliance regulations, or you want to get rid of multiple tenants and you go for a nice spring cleaning session where you want to make sure to have a single tenant strategy and not using your multiple tenants. If you plan your migration, please don't forget to define the success, to really make sure you know the budget, you stay on budget, stay on time. You know everything around user adoption. You know the size of content, the complexity of content, the complexity of permission. Be in touch with the vendor, be in touch with the relevant stakeholders. So that's very important. And don't be shy just to go and do proper milestone planning, Things what we done in the last decades, proper project management. Maybe you're using here planner and task, but that's important to plan your migration from tenant to tenant. Don't forget the end user. Communicate all the plans, how they will be affected, what they have to change in their behavior, when do they get access to the new tools. Maybe in the past they only have a business and now they are going to introduce to teams. Maybe their classic SharePoint experience is going to be modernized into a modern experiences. So think about all the communication methods, frequency, who is responsible, what is the purpose of each message, and which channel you would like to share all the next steps, improvements, but also maybe you want to communicate a delay or something which impacts on a more negative way. The best recommendation I can give you as a vendor is clean data before migrating. Make sure you know about data accuracy, completeness, consistency. Make sure you know more about rule-based cleansing and you have a clear understanding which content is duplicated, is redundant, is obsolete, is outdated, is trivial. Because if you reduce the amount of content, you need to pay the ISV who is selling the tool less money. Do you have an information strategy in place? Which means, are you fully aware of all acquisitions in the future? Changes in leadership, department reorgs? That's very important to talk about this kind of tenant-to-tenant migration on a larger picture, because otherwise you would plan something and your top management is moving into a different kind of direction and all your efforts, you would need to redo everything. So please talk to a COO and to others who are focusing on this kind of strategies. You should see red flags and you should stop immediately doing a migration when there is no sponsor, no content analysis, no risk assessment. Users are not engaged, there is no strategy, there are no tools, large pressure, and you still have a timeline. Then it's the right time to stop and go back and do the homework. So make sure that you have checkboxes here in every single stage, because then the next step would be the migration. And here I would like to introduce you to a tool fully running on Azure. It's called Quest on Demand. This tool is providing a migration from Azure AD, SharePoint Online, OneDrive, public folders, Exchange, and Teams. This tool also could do a recovery backup, auditing, group management, license management. And I will show you a demo in just a second. If we go deeper into the migration module, there is a discovery part which can do a discovery in the source and target tenant, do matching. The migration can do also go into a coexistence, because it can be that the source and target migration will take a few weeks or maybe also a month. And then coexistence is so important for calendar sharing, email forwarding, and domain name sharing. You get a very precise picture of everything what's happening inside of the migration engine, because there is project management tools here involved, like scheduling, dashboard monitoring, there are log files. So that's not going to be a blind flight. Let's talk a little bit about Microsoft Teams. Here it's very important that you use tools, because with out of the box possibilities, you are not able to migrate Teams from one tenant to the other tenant. So otherwise you would lose data, you would lose conversations. And here this tool running on Azure can help to migrate Teams, migrate channels, migrate the permissions, migrate of course files, also tabs like PowerPoint, Word, Excel, and so on, PDFs, migrate OneNotes, migrate planner tasks, rename Teams, merge conversations. So that's completely impossible with manual work and manual approaches. Regarding SharePoint, our Quest on Demand Azure tool is providing an easier way to migrate SharePoint Online to SharePoint Online. If you want to have a very complex migration where you're going into heavy transformations, There is another tool what we can offer here. It's called Quest Essentials for Office 365. It contains very detailed reporting. You can also backup SharePoint, backup OneDrive, advanced logging. You can convert classic sites into modern sites. There's term store management, term store import and export, and bulk management. There is you can also migrate a local file share into Teams. You can migrate Box and Dropbox into Teams. And there is an Intex forms, Intex workflow, migration involved, updating, correcting of links, web parts, version history, alerts. You can do live comparison between different site collections on the source and target. So that's very rich if you want to transform your sourced SharePoint site collections and then have different SharePoint site collections in your targets. Then you would need this kind of additional tool, which we're going to bundle in our software as a service Azure environment. So now I'm going to show you how Quest on Demand works with a tool which is fully running on Azure, and it contains a different set of modules. One module is called Migration, which we can see here, and we're going to see more in a few seconds. Then Recovery. You can recover and backup multiple Office 365 workloads and also your on-premise environment, especially around Active Directory. There is Group Management, not only Office 365 groups, but also security groups and distribution lists, so it supports hybrid environments. And there is License Management, which improves your licenses because you can easily see in the dashboards which licenses are used and which licenses are not used and how you can save costs. Or you offer a workshop to increase the active usage of Office 365 Modern Workplace. And then last but not least, there is auditing involved, which helps you to audit your hybrid environment, especially AD and Azure AD. But now let's jump directly into the Microsoft migration of workloads like Exchange, Azure AD, OneDrive, SharePoint, and Teams. And this is going to be done by moving directly into the migration module. So what I will do here right now is I can easily go and create a new migration project. And before this, I'm going to show you how my tenants look like. So here I've got a target. Here I've got a source tenant. That's the 81. This has got a bunch of Microsoft Teams. And as you can see here in my target tenant, that's the 58. It's completely empty, no Teams, nothing involved. If I look into SharePoint, no SharePoint sites, just one single one. And if I look into the users in my target tenant, there's just the pure admin user, nobody else. So really plain empty target environment. And now the first thing is I'm going to create a new project. And here I need the admin name of the source tenant. And this is the 81 user, and the target tenant is the 58. And then I'm going to specify the passwords, and here I have to go into my password tool to verify all the passwords. So that's the correct password for 81. And then I also need the usernames for the 58 environment and give them 58 password. Save and continue. So now we can start the first migration project, and this usually starts with the start of a discovery task, and also we are going to open the project. And here we are guided, so there's a step guide, 1, 2, 3, 4, and the first step is granting consent. That's what we have done right now. And the second job would be to discover the accounts. And now we are running a discovery job for the accounts to see which Azure AD accounts are in the source and which are on the target. So here we have a bunch of different accounts, around 50. Here we can choose if we want to migrate all accounts at the same time, but by just clicking one single button and select all. But we can also say, hey, listen, we would like to improve our change management efforts, and let's just start with the C-level accounts, or just start with the cities or the right countries. So you can easily filter on department, country, city, and so on, because you want to move first this country, this city. You get the idea pretty much. That's very easy for the change management and communication part to inform, hey, listen, on Monday morning, you will have your environment set up and you can start and do the communication for the certain countries and departments. But now to make things easy, I'm just going to migrate Adele. And here we can choose between kicking off the migration of Adele to the target tenant, or we just do a first matching. And here we can match different attributes like, okay, in the source tenant, we choose the display name. In the target also, we choose the display name. So we're just matching her display name on the source and tenant. And that's very important to check here all the settings and do a proper matching. Now we can see here on the green label that there is something going on, and we can see that the matching task has now started. We can wait and stare in front of the progress bar, but we can also click here and go deeper into the events if we're fancy on reading events. So we can see that this event has currently started and shouldn't take too long. Okay, so the attribute of her was not found. That doesn't matter. We can migrate her anyway. So just let's click on migrate, and let's migrate Adele to 58, which is our target account. We can start the migration right now, run it later, or let's say we're going to schedule it to 7 o'clock in the evening, because then it's easier to migrate due to COVID-19 throttling things. But it's just one single account, so we don't need to care about throttling here. We just migrate Adele to the target tenant. And then we can click here on the details, and then the migration has just started. Here we need to wait until everything is over, because our second step would be to migrate her mailbox and then her OneDrive. So we have to wait until this migration job is finished. And if we want to see what's going on, as I mentioned here, we can go into the log files. So that's the way how you do log files, investigations, and quests on demand. Very easy to read, very understandable, easy language, but still precise and technically relevant. Now we can see that Adele was migrated successfully to the target tenant. We can also check it here and go back into the administration and see if she's there. Let's have a look. It's always interesting. Okay, here she is, Adele. Very nice. So let's continue and go directly to her mailbox. So what we do is we don't migrate everybody now. We just stay on and focus on Adele and migrate her. And here we can switch mailboxes. Let's say doing a special kind of forwarding, source to target, target to source. But that's currently fine. We don't want to switch it. We just keep it and as it is, and just migrate her mails. And we choose a licensing plan. And now Adele is going to get a 5 plan. And we want to migrate her primary mailbox to a primary mailbox in the target. And we want to migrate everything. So like mails, calendar, contacts, task notes, inbox rules, recoverable items, and mailbox allegations, and folder permissions. So the full beauty should be migrated, but there's something what we don't want to do. We don't want to migrate her deleted, her junk mail folders, and we also don't need her sent items. So that's going to be excluded right now. Here we could choose, okay, please only migrate her last 3 or 5 years and not something which is older than 2015. That's possible, but for now it's fine. And we just migrate right now. We can also specify and schedule a special timing. So let's have a look what's going on. I love to stare here at progress bars. So the migration here is currently going on. And the license at this point should have been already provided. So let's look here. So here we can see, now she got an A5 license. And if you go to the Exchange administration, we can see that the mailbox is now provisioned for Adele. And the migration is now finished and complete. Okay, let's move on. What is missing? OneDrive would be the next workload we want to migrate, and we keep on migrating Adele here. We can collect all the migration users into a collection. This can create different batches here, but currently we only want to migrate her. And we want to migrate her last version of OneDrive, or the last and the previous versions, or we just want to migrate all versions of Adele's OneDrive because she works in a regulated industry, and therefore we need to migrate everything from Adele. Or we just, what should happen when the files are existing in the target. So here we have possibilities to skip or to override. And should we migrate the permissions of OneDrive? Yes, or updated for all content or only for the migrated contents. And here we want to update the permissions for all content. Because things can change, especially if users still work on the source but are also working on the target, then it's important to update it. And Adele, as I said, she is going to get an E5 plan. That's done here. Now we have some options to filter her OneDrive migration. Let's say we can filter by excluding special folders. Maybe there is an MP3 or an MP4 video folder at Adele's OneDrive. Or we don't want that she's going to migrate files which are larger than 50,000 megabyte. Or we just want, we don't want that she's going to migrate things which are older than modified after, or modified after. That doesn't make sense here. We don't want that things content is migrated before 2015 and so on. So that's fine. Let's move to 2020 again. Okay, so and then we can also exclude things like like images, ISO files. Nobody really needs a Windows Server ISO file in OneDrive. So here we can also exclude certain file extensions and file types. And now run the migration of OneDrive directly. Here we get a nice summary, what's happening, and then we can run the job immediately and migrate Adele's OneDrive to the target tenant. Now I would like to migrate Adele directly from her source OneDrive to the target, and that's easily can be done by clicking on her name. I could do a matching here, but for me it's fine to migrate her account immediately. I could also cluster her without other colleagues into a collection, but first I want to migrate her alone, and I have to pick up choose the target domain name here and run the migration job right now. Yes, perfect, right tenant, please go. And now I can click on the details and see what's happening here in the migration task. So let's switch gears here and migrate SharePoint from one tenant to the other tenant. And the first step is here, as you can see, create a discovery task. That's what we're going to do now, because at the moment we don't know what's in the source and what's in the target tenant. So we first need to discover which kind of site collections we are going to find in both tenants. Now discovery job is finished, so let's have a look which site collections could be found. Okay, let's migrate. What looks great? Mark 8. Yes, let's migrate Mark 8 from one tenant to the other tenant. And this also can be done using a matching mechanism. We want to skip it now. We can also map from a file in case you've got hundreds or thousands site collections, but here we only have a few, so we can migrate them immediately to the target tenant. And if we have unmanaged or unmatched users because they have left the company, then we can match them to an existing user who is still working at the company. And we want to include structure and content. No, we don't want to clear any existing site collections, just migrating, not deleting. And we want to run this job right now. Okay, let's move on to the last migration here. We want to migrate Microsoft Teams from one tenant to the other. And before we can do it, we need to run a discovery job, which I'm doing right now. And this job can scan all the groups and teams associated with the group, or just group without teams. But here in my case, I just definitely want to migrate all groups and all teams. So the full beauty here. Just let it run. Okay, the discovery job is now completed. Let's go back to my teams. Okay, let's migrate a few teams. Let's migrate now, let's say sales and retail. But before we can migrate, we need to provision the teams. That's easy done with the provisioning job. And now I get the question, if the team is already existing with the same display on the target, what should I do? Nothing, just merge into an existing team or just create a new team. Currently I know that there is no team there, so just do nothing, but I've got several options here. And very important is here, if you want to prevent an annoying group message for everybody in your team, then you can just suppress it and people will not get this welcome message. That's a very important thing. Usually people don't like it because they're part of several teams, and then they will get always the same message. Okay, let's run this provisioning task right now. And with this provisioning task, you would see that the structure of a team with the team name and so on, all the channels and configurations and permissions would be already created in this provisioning task here. So let's see how the provisioning is going on, and moving here to our target tenant. Okay, so we see the team is already created. We have the general tab here, and let's see how the progress looks like. Going deeper into the log files, and here we have some error messages. Yes, there are a few users who can't be found on the target because we just migrated Adele. So these kind of messages are definitely expected, and that's what we need. And now the provisioning is completed, as you can see. So we get a green flag here for provisioning, and we can go now directly into the migration. So here we can also see that it's provisioned. And now let's do the final step and migrate them. And here we are asked if we want to migrate only messages and files or messages only. And if we want to migrate the OneNote Planner and so on, Word, Excel, PowerPoint tabs. And if we want to merge the existing messages on the target and for a faster migration. But there is currently nothing on the target, so I can skip it. But I definitely want to migrate OneNote Planner and so on and migrate them right now. Okay, let's look a little bit deeper into the migration here. We can see on a very precise level what has happened in the last minutes regarding tab migrations, permissions migrations, notebook migrations, channels, and so on. Lots of insights. So the migration task here from teams to teams is now finished. And let's have a look into the target tenant. What's going on? So what we can see here is that the conversations were migrated. Something what I want to like to show with you is that currently, due to restrictions from Microsoft, we cannot migrate the real username. The real username is going to mention on the second level here, like Alex is talking to Megan and so on, and Nestor is talking to Megan. So that's what we have on the second level. Then we can migrate the files. And currently here we don't have files in this section, but here we also see pictures and much more. Here we see a wiki, we see tabs running, product launch event tabs. They were migrated, and then we see more sales and marketing information here. This is a OneNote, so you can see very simple test, but the OneNote was migrated. Okay, I hope that's for you useful. So we're working on providing more capabilities here. You know, there are a lot of other kind of tabs which we can add to our migration portfolio. But for this moment, I hope you like my presentation around moving and migrating Azure AD, Exchange, OneDrive, SharePoint, and Teams, migrations from one tenant to the other. Now the migration is over. It's all about managing the new environment, make sure that it's secure and compliant. And here the questions would be, how are your end users currently using Teams? Is there a need to restructure and to reorganize content? Have users went into old behavior? So there are a lot of tools which can analyze Teams, SharePoint, also Yammer behavior, monitoring it, and to make sure that it's used in the right way, actively used, not with offensive language and so on. So lots of great tracking tools, especially in the E5 suite for compliance. So here on the day, let's say Monday morning, when users go back into Teams, they need the right license, the right permissions. They shouldn't see too much, they shouldn't see too less. And there are third-party tools for provisioning, for compliance, for GDPR, and also the goodness of the E5 suite. So here, make sure that you spend time in compliance, in governance, and security so that the users have the right permissions on their first day when they're using the new target tenant. So, and last but not least, when the migration is over, what is the next step? Exactly. Last pillar, evaluate, share, collect feedback, and learn. Because maybe this is not the last migration, maybe there will be more. So it's so important. Maybe you want to create a Yammer group and share all the experiences from this migration here. And validate, how was the automation, how was the whole quality, the speed, the performance, and what are we going to do better? Because there's so much to learn, which you can share inside of your company, or you just use social media and write a blog post, or create a podcast, do a video, and share with your community around your migration experience. Thank you so much for listening. It was a pleasure, and please let me know when you have more questions. Happy to answer all of them. Thank you.
Thank you for being a part of the Galactic Collaboration Summit. Join the community and meet in-person world-class Microsoft and MVP speakers this autumn in Wiesbaden, Frankfurt, Germany, with 15 full-day tutorials and over 150 Microsoft 365 and Azure sessions at the combined European Collaboration Summit and European Cloud Summit from 26 to 28 October 2020. Community rocks.